young real estate agents with us to learn what they are doing. One is a top producer at her brokerage. The other has been the rookie of the year this past year. They both worked briefly in the medical field before making the move over to real estate. Let's welcome these two friends with the Exit One Stop Realty, Hannah Collins Flakus. Flakus. Sorry, thank you.
It's okay.
And Madison Yates, that's an easy one, to the show. Welcome, ladies.
Thank you for having us.
I'm really glad to come on because, as a talk pre-show, me as the host, and talking to the, hopefully adding value to the real estate agent world and bringing on top producers. One of the things I've always looked at or asked questions about is what about their first year? Well, a lot of times I have people who've been in the business 10, 15 years, and they're trying to reflect back. You guys, it was your last 12 or 24 months that you've been in the business, and you guys gotten off to a great start. So I really want to dig in to some of the trials and errors, some stresses I'm sure you guys have had making that jump over from the medical field, going W-2 to 1099, and what you guys did that, because I'm sure there's not only young women but young men out there that are getting in the business, which I've said on the show before. When I was your age, or just probably 10, 15 years ago, you didn't see 22-year-old young people getting into real estate. It was more, especially when I was growing up, and I'm sure when your parents were growing up, it was generally the spouse of maybe, their other spouse was successful, and, maybe the kids were gone, and now they went out to go say, hey, let's go do real estate. And they didn't start till they were 35, 40, 50 years old before they got into real estate. Now we're seeing more young people like yourselves getting in. So I really want to dig in and tell that story, if we could definitely accent that in our discussion of some of the trials. Because one of the questions I have is obviously that there is a challenge of being a young person and selling a home to someone 20, 30 years older than you are.
Yes.
So,
yeah.
But let's start off real easy. Madison, let's start with you. Just a little bit. Where you from? And I think you said you went to Bishop Kenny.
I did.
Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, born and raised in Jacksonville. Went to Christ the King, then Bishop Kenny, which is a feeder school for Bishop Kenny, and then graduated from UNF with a bachelor's in science and health, minors in health education and Spanish language. So,
so when you went there and going to UNF, what did you envision yourself as a career? What was your
Oh, my timeline was so different. Going to BK, you see very affluential parents, you see, great careers, and real estate, I don't know, it wasn't really there. I had you see the HGTV shows, and you're like, oh, that sounds cool. Right. But, as I'm going through college, I wanted to go to PA school, actually. PA school was... I always wanted to go a medical track because those are the successful people. Right. So I was like, if I can get into medicine, I'll be good. But yeah, so as I'm going through it, I, get to senior year. I've been working since sophomore year, really, as a medical assistant at different clinics. I worked for pediatrics and I worked for dermatology. Loved it all. I loved that I got to use my brain for everything, and that I didn't feel like I was just going through the motions. I was really into it, but then I was like, real estate, I saw her starting to do it, kind of going into my senior year. I think she was in her first year, and I started to see it more. Rebecca Forbes was also a really big motivator.
She's an agent with Exit as well.
Yeah.
Let's not jump too far ahead.
Okay.
Okay, yeah, I'm going to... Trust me, with the two of you, I'm going to bounce back and forth, but we're going to work our progression.
Of course, yeah.
We'll get there. But your parents, were they in the medical field, or what kind of just interested you towards that originally?
Yeah, my parents, my mom, she was like a preschool teacher. And then my dad's a truck driver. So very different careers. It's really, I was influenced by the people around me in school.
So they had the attitude we could talk like the boomer generation, is that they wanted to set you up.
Yes.
That was the vision. Get in the medical field. We know there's money there. Yep. You're going to live a different lifestyle.
Exactly. Yeah. Just set me up on the path to success, putting me in the private schools, giving me that individualized education. I think it was a very good route to start with.
So I've got to ask it right off the bat. So Bishop Kenny, you go to UNF. You got your degree now. You get a job in the medical field.
Yeah.
And when you go to mom and dad and say, I want to become a real estate agent, what's the reaction? Or do we have crickets in the room, or what happens? Because I'm sure they worked very hard to put you through those stages.
My mom's always been very know, do what you want. You know, but you know, when I drifted away from the medical field, the certain, like, you're going to make probably over 6 figures, like, as a paycheck. She was just like, sure? Like, maybe do it on the side, you know? Like, or, you know, pursue it. And I just went straight on for it. I was like, you know what? No. Working in the medical field, going through COVID and all of that, I just really swayed me away from the medical field. I saw people overworked, underpaid, but just really overworked.
I've heard I guess in general terms, because I don't know the details, but just basically the way it was gestured to me. And Hannah, you can tip into this a little bit, because this was a question I wanted to ask both of you. With the way the insurance and everything is, it's really changed what the expectations were with someone entering the medical field as a nurse or a doctor or all the other support people that are involved, and it's really not. I don't know, not that shining place on the hill that everyone envisioned when they actually get in there and get elbows into what's going on. Yeah.
I didn't have to get insurance or anything through where I was working, and I don't want to call out the place that I was working.
The way the insurance pays the claims and so forth really dictates to how and what you can do, I guess.
For sure. Yeah. Well, and I was a CNA, so I was a nursing assistant, and I was in a hospital on a unit, and I was there during COVID, and I saw a lot of things that I did not think I was going to see.
Yeah, scary stuff.
And I dealt with a lot of older people, and so it's just the mood is very down and dark, and it's just not empowering to walk in and be like, I'm gonna save a life today, because that's not how everyone's attitude was, you know. And I just feel like,
not that he didn't want to save a life.
I would love to. I have the heart to help people, and I wanted to help people, and I just don't think, like, I threw the idea around of pediatrics, and I was like, I would love to do that, but my heart's too big. I can't see a kid suffering. Like, I can't. I it's just not for me.
Yeah, I agree. So let's kick over to Hannah. Hannah, let's go. You were born and raised here in Jacksonville as well?
So I was born in Tampa. But I moved here, I think my parents moved me here when I was like a year old. So I don't know anything but Jacksonville. Okay. Yeah.
You went to Providence.
I did. Kindergarten to 12th grade.
But you decided to go to Florida Atlantic.
I did. I went to FAU. Go Owls.
Tell us about that. What's your vision? What did you see going there?
So I always have favored science more than I favored like English, math, any of those type of things. Yeah. I love science. So going into FAU, I was like, I'm going to go into exercise science. I was very interested in physical therapy. I have an uncle in my family who is in physical therapy. He's now a professor at the University of St. Augustine. I had the dream that I would be at the University of St. Augustine and go into physical therapy. I did some shadowing experience in college. I did really enjoy it. Graduated from FAU. Realized, I don't know that I want to be in physical therapy anymore. I don't know that I want to go to 3 more years of school. Like, I like school for the social aspect. I didn't like school for the academic aspect. So I don't know that I was
we should just send you to the Navy.
Yeah. I don't know that I was ready to jump into 3 more years of school, a bunch of money. University of St. Augustine is private. So that was going to be a really big jump into something like that. I had aspirations of wanting to start a family and get married very young. So I kept thinking about that.
Did we know Mr. Flakus at this time?
We knew him. We've actually, it's a whole story. Okay. We've known Matt for a very long time. So my brother and his brother are really, really good buddies. Okay. And so I've known him for a very long time, but we have not been together.
Was he in this early family planning idea that you had, or you were going to find somebody?
So he's a little bit older than me. Okay. So he's always been sort of on the same track as me. I feel like I'm mature for my age. I'm 24 years old, and I just feel like I've always wanted these things very young in life, and I feel like men don't mature as quickly. Sorry.
No, it's 100% true.
I just feel like he was at the point where he was ready.
Although there are some women that
totally.
For sure.
However,
statistically, yes, you're correct.
However, I think I was at that point. He was at that point because he was a little older. Right. We both had been through some things, and we just both agreed that we wanted a family. And so when I was like talking about physical therapy, he's like, I totally want you to do whatever you want to do. I support you. It's your decision, but I feel like as soon as you have a baby, like, you're probably right. I don't know that I'm going to want to go to school for 3 years, then feel like I have to work because I'm paying off student loans or whatever it is that I'm doing. So that's sort of what.
So what you wanted to do would have took basically an undergraduate plus 3 years?
Oh, yeah.
Like a lawyer.
Yeah. I mean, I went for the 4 years, got my bachelor's in exercise science. Then you have to start a new program, and I think it's 3 years to get your doctorate degree. So I would have been a doctor. However, I just wasn't ready to do 3 years of school. So then I threw around the idea of physical therapy assistant, and I was like, but there's really no money there, and you're still working 5 days a week for 8 hours a day, and I was like, what? That just doesn't make sense.
Well, I mean, in the you grew up in a real estate family.
I did.
You know, as far as you can remember back, your dad's been in real estate.
Yep.
So how did that even come to any, even when you were 17, 18 years old? Should I do real estate like Dad? Or, I mean, or really,
honestly,
really the academic, hey, I'm going to go into, get the paycheck, the W-2, the benefits and all that stuff. Was that really, real estate really wasn't, not that it wasn't an option, but wasn't a thought?
It wasn't a thought to me.
Interesting.
Like, I grew up with it, and I think that's what sort of, I was like, oh, I've been around this forever. Like, I kind of want something new, different. Not knowing truly what real estate entailed, you know, like I just heard the backside of things and the ownership side with my dad owning Exit One Stop. I just feel like I didn't hear much of like transactions and how it really goes and customer relationships and all the things that go into it. I don't feel like I ever was wanting to be in real estate. And I think part of it was I want to be different. Like, I want to try something different. And my parents were very supportive of that, and they were pushing me to really do that. They were like, we don't want you to feel like you have to do something just because your family's in it.
Right.
Do what you want to do. So that's why I was like, okay, well, I'm going to try physical therapy, and then realized I didn't want to do that. And then I was like, well, maybe a fast-track nursing program. And I was in the process of applying to nursing schools and all this stuff, and then I became a CNA and realized this is not for me. I have the heart for it, but physically, 12-hour shifts, like, it is a lot. I am not ready to take that on either. Right. So then I was like, you know what? Dad, Mom, I'm going to try to get my real estate license.
So what's Dad's reaction immediately to this?
He was like, oh, are you sure? I'm going to try to, like, sound like him. Are you sure you want to do that? You've always said you wanted to do nursing. And he was like, are you sure you're only doing, like, you're not doing this just because you want to get married and have kids, right? Like, he always was like, make sure you're
slow down, daughter, slow down.
Yes. He was like, make sure you're making a decision for yourself at the end of the day and what you want to do. And I said, Dad, I really have thought about it. I cannot be in the healthcare field. It is not for me. I'm going to try my real estate license. You know, it doesn't take too much money to get started on building your own business. So I was like, at the end of the day, if I spend $2,000, $3,000, whatever it is, just start my own business. That's how I was looking at it. Is I feel like I'll be successful.
And your mindset was on your mom and dad's success. I mean, that they've been able to provide for you.
In a way, I thought about my dad, but I also was like, I feel like I have my own people, and I feel like I can run this thing, like I can do it. And I did see the way they, you know, raised me and put me in private school, like you said, and gave me everything I needed and so much more. So that was a big part of it. Like, yeah, they're very successful, but I think also just real estate being, you know, more your
social,
own,
right? You said you like college because of the social part of it.
Helping people, your own type of schedule. Like, you're your own boss, and that was like huge to me. Like, yeah, you're a part of something, but you're your own boss.
All right, so I'm gonna hold you right there.
Yep.
Be your own boss.
Yeah.
Was that a motivator for you, man?
It was. So being an MA, I also worked with the specialty drugs and the insurance part of it. And I hated the system. I hated how the healthcare system dictated if somebody was going to get the medication that they needed. And I'm a person that loves to help people. So if they were going to get what they needed to be better, or sorry,
you give them whatever it takes.
Yeah.
Right?
And so I would go through the system. I'd try to find every loophole, all that type of stuff. And that's really what pulled me away. I was like, okay, you know what, with this, I can be my own boss. I can run a business how I want to run a business, and I can run it fair, you know?
But is that as easy as it, as you guys have learned here in the last 12, 24 months, being your own boss?
Yeah, no. I mean, there's a lot of fighting, and there's a lot of standing up for yourself, especially being a young individual in the field. So there's a lot of...
Well, I want to talk about the internal fight. The internal fight.
Like waking up and actually getting yourself to go to work every day.
Exactly.
That is hard.
Yeah.
Keeping yourself, like, disciplined.
Yep.
Yeah.
And saying, I'm going to get up and I'm going to do this today, even though I know I might not have a deal in the pipe works, or I don't have anything that I have to do today. I could just be lazy all day.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But it's like staying disciplined is hard. It is really hard.
Right. How do you to counter off her right there, that initial part, because just what is it, about 12, 13 months ago when you got started, right?
Yeah.
So to come in that very first day, and it's like, okay, well, they have some initial stuff for me, but in 60, 90 days, every day that you're in the business, the brokerage, I imagine, pretty much has less and less technically that they want, think you should know. You're starting to learn this stuff, right?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So what have you learned here quickly in 12 months to make it work?
Yeah, I'm
go to work.
Yeah, no, I'm very type A, so I love a schedule. I love a Google Calendar. I even go as far as writing out social media posts, because those are things that, they're fun at first, because you get to create an account and you get to show people who you are, make the cutesy little Pinterest post, but also, like, you need to be getting information out there. So just, making sure that you have everything scheduled out, and because you make your own schedule as your own boss.
Right.
But you got to make your own schedule. You can't just be like, I'll put that off till tomorrow.
Yeah, so are you guys, like, doing time blocking?
Oh, yeah.
You're a time blocker.
Oh,
Hannah,
yeah.
You... Well,
I knew this sound.
So I would say I was. Now I have a 3.5-month-old, so my life has completely changed. So talking to me 6 months ago, yes, I was a time blocker. I had my to-do list every single day. I was like, this is what I'm knocking out, this amount of time, and then I'm going to do my online leads for this amount of time, and then I'm going to do this. But now I feel like it's a little more crazy with a little baby in the house, but I still do, I really do try a few days a week to focus on certain things rather than just being like, okay, what do I need to do today? Who do I need to follow up with today?
Right.
It's...
when you flip the switch, lay him down, that you need to go make a couple phone calls.
Yep. As soon as he's down for a nap, I'm on my computer doing what I need to do, making calls, posting stuff on social media, following up with people, whatever it is. But yeah, it's changed a lot since having a baby. But it's the most important thing with being your own boss. It's so easy to just say, I'm not going to show up today.
Mm-hmm.
And you get used to that and you fall into a pattern and you're like, you realize, oh, I'm not going to be as successful as I can be if I'm not doing the thing.
So let's tip on that right there. You come in, and I'm sure, the commission off one deal is more than the average person makes a month. And many people, several months. You get that. How are you staying intact? Like, hey, we got to keep this going. I want to have 2 or 3 sales.
Oh, yeah.
Were there other people in the office, or we were talking about some other agents that that you were looking at and seeing what they were doing and saying, this is really good, but I want to reach this level.
Right.
Because I think a lot of people don't fathom the what money can do. You can make $5,000 a month, and hey, I'm getting by. My husband's working, whatever. This is great that we're living our lifestyle. But when you're able to bring in $20,000 or $30,000 a month because you're getting 2 or 3 sales, how all of a sudden it changes your whole perspective on what you can do.
Yeah. I mean, my first commission check, I was like, oh my gosh, this is great.
Yeah.
This business is amazing. I'm here, I'm doing it. I know I'm in the right place. However, then I had a few slow months and I was like, ooh, this is really hard. Not having a consistent income and relying on myself, being able to rely on myself and my own income. I was like, I do need to have stuff in the pipeworks, stuff that's building up, ready to go, so that once one closes, you're still focusing on other things. You're not down and out because you're, behind not having other deals come up. So, I mean, it was
Madison, tell us, what did she tell you before you came in? Because I imagine you guys had many discussions.
Yeah.
What was she telling you in relation to, especially the money part?
So the money part, it was nice. I mean, I also saw like,
Well, the sporadic, you have a good month and then you may go a couple months without a closing.
yeah, I
So-
mean, it's definitely the reason I chose Exit One Stop was because of the accountability and the atmosphere that like I interviewed a couple of different brokerages.
Right there? Oh, good. We'll
And
stick into that too, but go on.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't see the community there. So like when she brought me into one of their classes and I got to, see how many agents are actually coming into these, because they're writing their own schedule. So you don't have to come into anything. But there's so many people that actually come in, and I just going like through it. Like I had a mentor, an amazing mentor, Jade White, and she really held my hand through a lot of stuff. She really showed me the way of things. But diving into the money part, I mean, going, a month or two, you're kind of like a fish out of water. You're like, oh my gosh, what's going on? Like, for me,
start doing the checkup, right? Am I doing the right thing?
right.
Yeah.
Well, for me, that's when I'm like, okay, I gotta go do pop buys. I gotta go show up to this event. We did a couple of 5Ks. I gotta go to this 5K with my exit shirt on, show people that I'm there, get the name out there until I get, somebody who's willing to buy or sell, or someone interested. Just one of those things. And that's how I know I'm like on the right path, as long as I have something going on. I just feel like I'm a more physical person. Like I do pop buys, I do door knocking, all that fun stuff. So
You enjoy that.
Oh,
and
yeah.
And have gotten response from it.
oh yeah, I've got
So,
listings, I've gotten buyers.
Awesome.
So yeah.
Awesome. We're going to dig into that. Remind me that, no, I'm not going to lose the train of thought, because I was going to write down, you were giving me a couple of questions asked. Oh, the other brokerages. We did want to talk about that.
Yeah.
So we don't need to use names.
Of course.
So, obviously you had a relationship with her parents and knew her dad and everything, and having that conversation.
Yeah.
So that was, easy. Obviously you felt welcome at Exit One Stop, but you needed to go out and see what else was out there.
Yes.
How did you feel, or, kind of give us a rundown? Did they you invited and you talked to a broker? Did you talk to any of the agents in those other brokerages? Tell us a little about what you did there.
Yeah, I either talked to a broker or I talked to the trainer that was going to be training me. They were all very nice people, don't get me wrong. Just when I came in, there was nobody in office. I didn't see anything going on. I couldn't get a feel for the community. When I came into Exit, I got 12 highs when I walked through the door. I felt like everybody knew who I was. Like, I was like on fire. I was like, okay, cool. Like, I feel good. But I went into the room, and it was both Walter and Jade, and they gave me the lowdown. They were very real with me too. They're like, they weren't like the other places that were like, if you do good and you stay through our program, they were like, this is kind of what you got to do. You got to work hard for what you want. You can't sit back, let one deal go by and let it all kind of go away, you know?
So, or be so focused on the one deal and process, you got to be getting the next one.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of new agents, like, they need to be told it straight. Like, this business isn't just commission checks all the time.
No.
At all.
No.
And it's hard. And you're out there fighting and, dealing with crazy things all the time. But people think that real estate's the easy way out.
Oh, no.
And I feel like that's sort of what held me back from getting into the business. Like, I was like, I don't want people to think I'm taking the easy way out. Like, or people think that I'm just following in mommy and daddy's footsteps. Like, that's not me. But I think new agents need to know, like, this is how it is. And you have to grind.
Oh,
You have to work hard. And if you don't, I mean, the statistics even show, and I don't know it off the top of my head, but so many people get their license and they're out of it within the first year.
80%.
Yeah.
Because
80%.
they think, they think that it's just commission checks all day long and it's easy peasy, and it's not.
Well, do you think one, because that's a statistic that's been out there and it's true, it's who you partner with, right? If you don't know completely what you're doing, your parents weren't in the business before, you don't know what you're doing, you got to partner with the right brokerage who does business the way you see to do business. In your case, showing up at the office and there's a handful of people and they're all saying hi to you, that's important, versus another brokerage who maybe have a few little offices around, but no one really comes in.
Right.
Right? That's not your atmosphere.
No.
Right?
Yeah.
Well, and I do feel like learning, like, we have a great mentorship program, like Maddie said, and we have continuous trainings. I mean, there are trainings that, like, agents who have been in the business for 20 years are still coming to, because they're like, there's always something new to learn in our business. It's always changing.
Oh, yeah.
And you're always dealing with different things, like different people. Your transactions are never going to be the same. So that's so important. I mean, just continuous training and things. But one thing that I've also realized is going to an office where there's people there and they're answering phone calls around you. As a new agent, you're hearing the way they're talking to people, and you're like, oh, that's how you handle that.
Yeah.
And you pick up on so many things when you're in an office setting, or you're going to things, or going to events, and you hear, you know, your broker talking to somebody. I mean, I've heard Valerie talking to so many people, and I'm like, light bulb. Yeah. That's how you handle that.
Yeah.
100%. Obviously, if my 18 years in the mortgage business, I started off at Quicken Loans in the call center in Detroit. And eventually my wife got transferred away, so then I was working from home. But those years in the call center, and having, of course, we would do call reviews and stuff because I'd actually record the call and we'd listen to it and say how, you know, so you, you know, you may not be going to that level at some real estate offices. They may do, because, you know, if you are doing a lot of like online leads and doing a lot of phoning time, but you're right, hearing the senior real estate agents, in that case, loan officers for me, having those conversations and how they overcome objections, the tone, how the speed, everything.
Yeah.
You know, is so important. And if you're not seeing someone, you know, successfully having that phone call, you don't know what is a successful phone call.
Yeah.
You know, at least it gets you on the path. You maybe take it to a whole nother level, but someone coming in has never done anything like that, you know, wasn't in the medical field. You guys probably weren't on the phone very much. So now you're having phone conversations, and how important it is to win someone over on the phone to hopefully get the, you know, the face-to-face meeting or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was the biggest thing for me getting into real estate, is I was like, I don't want to pick up the phone and call somebody. Like, I'm not used to talking to people on the phone other than my mom and my husband and my dad. Like, I just feel like our generation doesn't really pick up the phone and talk to people. We're texting, we're behind a screen, we're on social media, we're maybe emailing. Emailing was also something that was like, ooh, I have to send emails? Like, I'm not very good at that. But just going into a setting where you're around successful people, and it doesn't have to be your own office. Even going to a coffee shop and listening to other people's conversations, like, there's a lot of people who go there who work, and you hear that.
Yeah, if you sit in Starbucks, you'll see people, you could tell people are coming in to meet
for sure,
for whatever different types of things.
Yeah, and going to other real estate events and talking to agents and picking their brain and asking, what are you doing that's making you successful? Yeah. Because I know real estate agents look at each other like they're competitors. Yeah. And it gets
cutthroat.
Yeah, it gets a little competitive, you could say. But I feel like also we're learning off of each other, and we might run into a deal where we're working a deal together. Like, we
you
need
listen to my podcasts. She's like feeding it back to me.
I didn't hear that one.
Oh, I use that. That one's all like every conversation.
But
it's very important to collaborate.
Yes.
And like you said, even in your office, it may be competitive, like who's got a deal going right now or whatever. You kind of feel that, you know, typical human thing. But the reality is, you know your people. I know my people. We don't have too many overlaps.
I would never get the people that she has.
Yeah.
I'm not successful at door knocking. I don't want to go up and door knock and talk to people who I don't know. Like, I really focus on my sphere of influence. Yeah. And that's where I'm driving people. My farming, like, I'm really trying to dig into that group where you're really good about making connections with new people and that you don't know and trying to win them over. And I feel like I'm not as strong in that suit, but she's really strong in that suit.
Right.
Maddie, how fast did you mentioned a few things that you like, and if you can repeat them back to us, the things that you like or have had success doing. Yeah. How long did it take you to find those things? And you probably actually haven't found the one, like, you know, golden vein, you know, type of thing, or, you know, where every time you do it, you know, you're getting a return, but you've had some success early. Yeah. How did you, was it something you just fell in, or you just said, hey, someone said door knocking, so I'm going to go out and try it, and all of a sudden they got a response?
Yeah. I listened to a lot of YouTube and a lot of like different podcasts, and I was just taking in all the ideas because I knew I wanted to be successful. I got through college on scholarships. Like, I am very much like a person who does it themselves, and if it doesn't work out, it's going to work out. Like, I'm going to make it work out. So I'm a very people person, so I can talk to people very easily. So I, door knocking, I was like, this is a good free activity, starting into the business, not having any money, working my part-time job.
July and August. Right?
But I did.
She's successful at it.
I did, and it sucked, but it came out well. I got a listing from it. So, awesome. Sending postcards so people see your face after you sell that listing. Exit lets us have marketing dollars. If you get something on market, or if you close a deal, you get some money into a pot. That also helped, being a person with a new business who doesn't have a lot of revenue coming out of it. And that was just another supplemental thing. Trying to think what else.
Well, let me role play a little bit, not to say directly, but how, let's say the one you got the listing from, you said was a door knock.
Yes.
How did that conversation start? How do you approach it? You're comfortable with door knocking.
Yes.
That's important. Not everybody is. But if you're okay door knocking, then take it to the door knocks, the person comes to the door. Tell us a little bit how that conversation went.
Hello. My name is Madison Yates. I'm a realtor, but I just want to let you know, I actually just sold your neighbor's house on the other street. I don't know if you got my postcard I sent out. It should have come in last week.
Oh, I did, yeah.
Yeah, you recognize my face?
I do.
Oh, yeah.
You did? You said that?
Yeah.
Okay.
I would love to know what my houses were.
Actually, yeah.
Tell me how it actually...
Yeah, so...
I love the role play, but I want to know how this actually went down blow by blow.
Yeah, so I sold the neighbor's house on the next street, maybe like a month prior to. I sent out the just sold postcards that had my face on it and what it sold for. And I knocked, this lady answered, and she was like, I know your face from somewhere. And I was like, I just sent out a postcard. And she was like, yeah, I was really surprised about what that sold for. I've lived here for 44 years. That was insane. And I was like, yeah, well, you know what? I could probably do a comparative market analysis on your house and let you know what yours is worth. No pressure. Like, you don't have to sell it. Right. But she's like, you know what? I really like that. And I was like, cool, I'll be back tomorrow with a CMA in hand and we can talk it out. And that's what happened. And she signed the papers that night.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you set an appointment, said I'll be back tomorrow, whatever time it was. She
that's
was
what's
ready,
important.
Sat down with her at her kitchen table and went over.
Yeah. The follow-up where telling, because people would be like, oh yeah, you come back whenever. No, set an appointment.
Email it to her. You didn't, whatever. You actually went physically over, and wow, that's awesome.
Yeah.
How you handle it. Hopefully anyone listening to that, not everyone's comfortable knocking on doors, but I want to even take a step back. The postcard.
Yeah.
Is that something that your dad preaches to everyone? Valerie to
follow. That's a
your
form
mom's
of follow-up.
over marketing.
Right.
We got a house listed. We're gonna hit everybody.
Yeah.
Or
and you can use
we're selling. We sold because the person. Was it on the previous listing? I think, did you say it was a listing you sold, or you were at a buyer?
It was a listing I sold.
So it was another listing, so you immediately put the postcard out.
Yeah.
Well, people want to see you doing business.
Yep.
And so for her to see that you just did that is like huge for her.
Yeah.
And now she trusts you.
It's a credibility step.
Yeah, and she's like, well, she did it over there. She can do it here. You know? And that's a really hard part about being a new agent, is showing people you can trust me, because they're like, well, you're new in the business.
Yeah.
Like, what do you know?
Yeah.
Like, compared to somebody who's been in the business for 25 years.
Right.
And just trying to prove to them through your actions and following up with them and sending the postcards and saying, I have access to do this stuff for you.
Yeah.
And I want to do this stuff for you. And I think that's what makes us look credible. But I think...
They say everybody knows so many agents. Well, that's a great statistic, but I disagree from the age of 30 years and younger. I don't think they all know an agent. From the age probably of 55, 60 and older, they know. Because if this person's been in this house for 44 years, they were in their 60s, 70 years old.
She told me that her son, the guy who married her son, was a realtor, and she knows 4 or 5, but she doesn't want to use someone she knows because she doesn't want them in their business. So I made her feel really comfortable.
So her daughter-in-law's in the business. That's what you said. Her son.
No. The person who not who married, like the officiant. who did their wedding.
Not a true. Okay.
But
just an association more.
Yeah, so it's more so working that relationship, which I think is super important too. Really getting to know the people that you're helping buy a house, or the people you're selling their house, helping them work through getting out of a house they've been in for 44 years. Yeah. They raised their children in. So really helping them through that. We wear a lot of roles when we're real estate agents or therapists or a whole bunch of different things.
Movers.
But I actually cleaned one of a couple things in our house too during the move out process. You wear a lot of hats.
I think because you really brought to light here, you literally just walked upon and literally, who knows how long she had been thinking about selling the house.
Yeah.
And you just happened to knock on the door at the right time. Whatever, immediately, of course, you build credibility by having the other house in the neighborhood.
Yep.
And here's an older person, because I think, a good group, if we were to take the hardcore group of real estate agents, probably 30 to 50, we could probably capture a lot of real estate agents in that age group. But the pre-30 and the post-55, 60, they're not, their kids are out of the house probably.
Yeah.
They're not where my wife and I, because I'm a little older than my wife, but we're out socializing. Obviously, my wife's an agent, and we know a lot of other people who are agents because we're mixing with their kids. You're a little more social and seeing a lot more people at that age. And therefore, I know a lot of real estate agents because, all the activities we're doing. But when you're not doing those kids' activities and those are not there in the picture, and it's just we're going out with friends, you're just hanging out with other adults.
Yeah.
So you only have this limited crowd that you kind of know. And I think the older you are, you're in that category, and the younger you are, you're in that category. It's the middle ones that you say, oh, yeah, everyone knows the real estate. Yeah, that's probably true because you're socializing more, the kids, and it's not that those other, and I think, other agents, but they're not, deep-hearted friends. I mean, you know, deep-hearted with how many friends can you actually handle at one time, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And even tagging on that, though, like, just because they know a lot of agents doesn't mean they're going to use anyone, like you said.
Right.
Like, they might not want them in their personal business. But also, I feel like in our business, there's a lot of agents who do not follow up with their customers.
Yeah.
So although they've done business with them in the past, if you're the one touching them at that point in time, they are probably going to be using you.
Yep.
And that's what I've learned is being in front of them at the right time, like delivering a pop-by at the right time, earned me a listing. And it probably wouldn't have if I didn't put my face in front of it.
What were you coming by for tell us about the tell us what you do for pop-bys, and then what was the reason you were doing a pop-by for this person?
Well, so I try to do pop-bys every month. And I do like 5 or 10 every month, and I hit on people that I've seen recently who I haven't seen in a while, and I just want to keep top of mind with them, or friends who I haven't spoken to in a little bit, or even someone who I have spoken to. I mean, I'll drop some to my grandma, and I feel like she's my biggest cheerleader. She's always going to root for me. She's always going to send people to me. Yeah. But even those people closest to you, I mean, sometimes they might think you're too busy for your job or too busy to have new customers, and I don't want people to ever think that. Like, I am never too busy. You need to be sending them to me.
Agreed.
And your biggest cheerleaders sometimes might not think that. Like, they might be like, oh, she has no business.
They don't quite understand what you're doing completely and how valuable.
They don't realize.
It's oftentimes in our business, it's feast or famine. And you got to feast and save, and, because there might be a winter hibernation.
Yeah. So I try to do pop-bys every month, and I do it based off the month. And so, for example, like Valentine's Day, we try to do a Valentine's Day theme. Or last year for New Year's Eve, I did wishing you all the luck in the new year and did a little lottery ticket. Like, I just try to do things based off the months. But
so this particular one that you did the pop-by and you get
I did a Mother's Day.
Mother's Day.
Yes, a Mother's Day theme. And I actually was the sponsor of a golf tournament in Deerwood. And I was the presenting sponsor, and she was on the board of that golf tournament. And we sat with each other.
Real estate-related golf tournament, or what kind of?
No, so it's a country club event. It's called Deer Chase, and it's a women golf tournament. And tons of women from all over Jacksonville come in for this. It's like kind of like a master's theme too. So it's very popular. There's always a waiting list, and my dad had surprised me with a sponsorship for this, and I was like, oh, I don't want to do this. Like, I don't know if I want to go. And I ended up having the best time meeting the most amazing women. I'm doing it again this year on my own. I'm running with this. From now on, I am doing this. I want to be there. And I'm a member of that country club as well. So I know a lot of the women, but there's also a lot of women who I have never seen in my life because they're coming all around Jacksonville. So I was sitting at the table with this lady, and she was on the board for it, and she had done a lot of planning for it, and I was like just talking to her. I had seen her before because she was a member at the country club, but I never have had conversation with her. We were sitting there talking, and she was talking about how her kids do not live in Jacksonville. And so I was like, you know, who does she spend time with? Her husband had passed away, and I was like, who does she ever hang out with? And Mother's Day was coming up, and I was like, she probably isn't going to be with her kids on Mother's Day. They live over in, like, California, so it's not, like, an easy trip for the weekend for them to come and see her.
Right.
So I was doing, I did, like, the silliest little Popeye, and I did, like, eye patches, and it's, like, little, you know, pamper yourself.
That's cute.
Happy Mother's Day. And I dropped one by her house, and she ran into us at the club one night, and she was like, I've been meaning to call you. Thank you so much for my Popeye. That meant so much to me. I didn't have my family in town for Mother's Day. Every holiday is very hard because I don't normally have my family with me, and my husband had passed away, and it meant so much to her. The smallest little thing meant so much to her. And I was like, it really is not just